Ain't it interesting? Ain't it interesting? Welcome to another show. I go by the name Dub Banks, more skills than Tom Hanks. I'm fresh out the shower with this thing, bro. Clean, smelling like Irish Spring, you feel what I'm saying? Getting ready for work. Hope everyone's having a great Thursday, a blessed Thursday. Hope the month of March has been going well. You know what I'm saying? Um, Praying for our, Arab brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, that don't know Christ yet, are fasting to try to please a God that they don't know. May the veil, may the blindfold be taken off their eyes, and they see God for who He really is. Jesus is not just a prophet; He's above the prophets. He instructed the prophets according to the scriptures. But that's a whole nother story. But some of you are like, man, why is he getting into religion? I'm not religious. I just love Jesus. But anyways, back to the main point at hand. Let me make this statement, and then y'all ponder on it for a while. Let it marinate in your corpus callosum, as a famous YouTuber on here that I used to listen to would say often. KD's legacy. No. My bad. Let me rephrase that. Stephen Curry's legacy without KD is better. Let me say that again. If you take away KD right now, Stephen Curry's legacy minus KD is better. With KD, as you know, he's a 4-time champion. KD has 2 Finals MVPs. Curry finally got his Finals MVP in 2022. Won one in 2015. Had a couple other Finals appearances within that stretch where they lost due to injuries and some rigging and stuff here and there with the refs, heavily one-sided on the Cleveland side. People don't want to bring that up. People are like, oh, you can't fault the refs for 2016. You absolutely can't fault the refs for 2016. They dictated the pace of the game because they knew if they let the Warriors run up and down like they normally do, Cleveland wouldn't have been able to keep up. The series would have been over in 5 games, even without Draymond Green. The refs took over that series as well as Kyrie Irving. But that's another story. We'll get into that. I would love to break down the 2016 finals because that fake finals, that fake championship they gave to LeBron James. I'd love to break that down, but that's a whole nother story. What I want to focus on is the statement that I just established. Stephen Curry's legacy without KD is better. 3 finals appearances. Won 2 of those 3 championships. Finals MVP, and that was past his prime. When they won that championship, understand Stephen Curry is past his prime right now. 32 is the final age of what most consider to be your prime. From that point, you're declining gradually each year. So understand that Curry won another championship in Finals MVP past his prime. So in the one championship they dropped, they won 73 games. And he was a unanimous MVP. So his legacy without Kevin Durant is better. Of course, y'all know what I'm alluding to as I'm responding to the initial statements established by the great Isiah Thomas, who says if KD never joined Golden State, your legacies are different. That's true. But what does that mean? Their legacies are different. Notice he didn't say their legacies aren't worse or their legacies wouldn't be as good. He just said it would be different because Isiah, Isiah has a way with words. He kind of left it to your personal interpretation. He knew what he was doing. Isiah is smart enough to know what I already know. That the Warriors would have been good whether they had KD or not. He was saying it without saying it. Whether they had KD or not, the Warriors were good. If you didn't get KD, y'all are still a team that competed in back-to-back championships, 73 wins, won the championship. You got the two-time MVP. The Golden State Warriors are fine. If you got KD, it made y'all even more unstoppable. Now, some people would contend, well, the Golden State Warriors have a dynasty without KD. I think you were seeing the dynasty form long before KD came into the picture. I believe KD joined the dynasty. He made that what was already a dynasty a lot stronger. I want you to understand the Warriors weren't just a good team. They were a dynasty in the making. They were already a dynasty. But when KD joined, it made that dynasty even more certain, so to speak. He helped to eliminate a lot of Golden State Warriors weaknesses that were glaring even at times, especially with the turnovers or, Clay and Steph couldn't get a rhythm. You had KD that would step up and kind of cover there. He provided extra protection at the rim. As you know, the Warriors like to play small. Having KD as a presence within the paint certainly helped their defense. So he helped to cover a lot of those areas. But like I said, you just saw them win with Andrew Wiggins. See, the thing about Steph is, like, in his leadership, like, he has a way of making players better than what they really are. So if you get the right kind of guys that fit within the system that is Steph Curry, you can win. They've proven that time and time again. So this is why Zeke is very smart with his words. He never said that their legacies wouldn't be good. He never said that the legacies would be worse. He never even said that they'd never be a dynasty. He just said their legacies would be different. And to his point, I would have to agree with him. Do they make 3 or 4 straight finals? Probably not. Probably not. But what's not to say that probably so? Because they had the cap space, to get another key guy. They had a deep bench. You had the 2-time MVP in Stephen Curry. Klay Thompson, prior to the leg injuries, was a beast on both ends of the floor. I mean, all they needed was a third piece to consistently, give them 20 plus a game, 20 to 25 a game, or like 18 to 22 a game. You just needed a third guy. That's it. That's all you really needed. They didn't necessarily needed a Kevin Durant. Let me add to that one championship that they lost. Like, yes, they blew a 3-1 lead. They didn't blow a 3-1 lead. They lost. They had multiple injuries. They weren't the same team they were in the regular season. They were a totally different team with the injuries. With Bogut going out, Iguodala getting hurt. Steph Curry was already hurt. He only played He only had 2 games where he had over 30. Y'all do realize that the entire series, he had 2 games in that whole series where he had over 30. The rest of the time, he scored, I think he had 26 one game. And then, even game 1, he only had 13 points. Something like that. Like, so it wasn't like he was playing superb all series. He had a couple games where he stepped up and had a really good game. Game six, I think he would have went for 40 if the refs didn't help LeBron by fouling him out. There were two offensive um, charges on LeBron that they called on Steph that gave Steph 6 fouls. Otherwise, I think they had a chance to come back and win Game 6 and win on the road. But other than that, I mean, Steph really struggled to get going because he was not healthy. And that's just the truth. And it still took Cleveland 7 games with the help of a Draymond Green suspension to close out the deal. But I wanted to highlight the 2016 season because I'm going back to the initial statement of Curry's legacy being even better without KD. That 2016 season included a 3-1 comeback by the Golden State Warriors over Kevin Durant to show up in the finals. And that loss, and maybe we should touch on this more, that loss was worse than the NBA Finals loss. Everybody was like, this is the biggest collapse. No, the biggest collapse actually happened in that series between Golden State and OKC. That was the biggest collapse. Because Golden State, again, the Golden State Warriors were the ones with the injuries. Steph was still dealing with that knee. That same knee he had to have fluid drained out of once the series was over. The same knee, the following 2 seasons later, almost, where they won in 2018 on the road, that same knee he had wrapped up and iced up after the game was over because it was still affecting him. But he never talked about it. But you could see that same knee wrapped up with ice. So he had that going on. The fact that he fell on his head, he might have even been dealing with a minor concussion. The way he fell on his head, people thought that he wasn't going to play again. So the Golden State Warriors were the ones dealing with injuries in that series. Yet, KD, Russ, those guys could not close. Warriors did make adjustments. But KD wasn't nearly as aggressive as he needed to be down the stretch. He deferred too much. He deferred to Russ when he should have been stepping up and being the guy to close the deal. He did not. That was the true biggest collapse. And there was no referees trying to help Golden State. It was just simply Golden State started playing better basketball, and they made their proper adjustments, and they were able to get back in the series. It was a series that shouldn't have went that long anyway. It shouldn't have went 7. Warriors should have won that series in 6 games. But they messed around and gave up a 14-point lead, turned the ball over, careless basketball, and they gave a win to OKC. And OKC didn't even play their best basketball in Game 1 of that series. But that was the biggest collapse. Yet somehow, KD saved Golden State. When KD was coming off of a 3-1 collapse of his own that kept him out of the finals. And his only finals appearance at that point happened during a lockout season. But somehow it was the Golden State Warriors legacy that needed to be saved. Don't you see how these guys? It's all about narratives and people you like. But when you tell the truth, it's so much more refreshing, isn't it? It's very refreshing. So yeah, Isiah Thomas, you're right. Their legacies would have been different, but you're smart. You know the very information that I know that I'm giving on this podcast. That different does not mean worse. Different does not mean bad. It absolutely is different. Everything's different, but how much different? Hmm. Of course, it's not necessarily the same, but how different is Golden State's legacy really? Because without KD, they're still multi champions. And this was a Golden State Warriors that had climbed their way from the bottom to get that championship. It was just a few years prior that they were at the bottom of the NBA. Had only won 15 games. Had injuries to Steph and Clay. They both were out. Steph was dealing with a wrist injury. Clay was dealing with multiple leg injuries. And if Clay didn't get his second leg injury in 2021, who knows how far Golden State could have gone. Hmm. Interesting. Just some things to ponder. Some things for y'all to think about. I know I said it a lot. And as you know, I'm always coming off the cuff. It's your boy Dub Bates. Signing off.